Hello and welcome into a New Year episode of Tea Time, which is also called I Shot the Cherub. I'll tell you more about that in a minute. But I have on the line a very dear friend, actually, and a top healer and catalyzer and power site tour guide. I mean, she does so much. She's has a mystery school over in Japan, and she teaches over in the US and honorary member of PSI Japan and loads of things. But I'd really just rather get her on the screen now or in your earbuds so that you can be introduced and listen to the wisdom that is Tracey Ash. Hello, my darling.
Hi. Thank you for having me on your show.
Always an absolute joy and pleasure to speak with you, Tracey. You are just on it, for want of a better phrase, really. And I always come away from any sort of discussions or exchanges that we have very inspired that actually we all know what we're supposed to do. We need to get all these layers of stories and patterning out of the way, because now is the time for us to step up hugely. It feels like a momentous task that we're doing as individuals and as a collective to raise the frequency of the planet, because so much of it's going down the pan. And I just wondered what your view is on that, you know.
I think, number one, it's incredible times. Number two, we can use world events, challenging world events, as massive reference points to take the frequency up. So we've got huge choices. Number three, it's about really working ever so hard in terms of our stories and our pattern and our frequency, and really looking to, I think, what is the new frontier, which is the study of the education of consciousness, and really looking at our awareness and how to fine-tune it so that we step into something that I call immaculate being. So the awareness is there, and we're not in that beingness with a spiritual flakiness. We're in that being which is about it being very live, and we're alive as beings on the planet, and we're taking care, safeguarding our planet and our future and the future generations.
Yeah, for sure. And this sort of internal barometer, something that fascinates me, when we come into our meditation space, where do we go to, and where do we come back? Where is our internal reference point? Where is that in that compass that guides us, that the discernment factor within that enables us to function outside of ourselves? And I think we were talking on a previous Tea Time about radical meditation. There's no excuse to not know where your center is anymore, really. And that's what you do. So just get rid of the excuses. You said the stories. Yeah, I know we've got stuff to process. Of course we have. And there's a huge amount of compassion that comes through with what you do too. But also, let's move on. Let's get on with it next. And so meditation really is one of the key tools, isn't it?
It's a key new frontier technology, for sure. And it's the way we approach meditation. I'm super fascinated in how we make meditation, transformation, awareness work better and better and better for us. And I think it's bound in our purpose behind why we meditate. And equally, it's then also bound in where we learn meditation and the data feed that has informed us even about what meditation is, and then what the practice is and what's required of us. So it's a really interesting time actually to reevaluate whether our practices actually work for us or not, and whether they are penetrating the superficial layer that is the low frequency programming. And then, only then do we have that authentic reference point. And only then does our frequency change and our life force is reactivated again. And again, it's about stepping into something that's savvy and brilliant and embodied. And it's about completely transferring everything that we know spiritually and making it something that we stand up in and live for every second and every minute of each day. So our practice and our meditation then is our daily life, which supersedes all of the old and outdated spiritual stuff, which is, hang on a second, stop, world, I'm meditating. You know, so you're really then utilizing all the reference points, even the drama, so that you're creating within yourself the internal space that bends time and gives you that clarity in terms of who you are and your action and your responsibility and all of those things. So you can rise above the drama, both actually your own and your own programming, because we all hit periods of low frequency, but we have to be able to say, hey, stop. You know, so when we are looking at practices, we actually need the essential how to. So we're taking ourselves beyond something that's superficial, beyond a data feed that says, I know what I'm doing, and yet I don't know what I'm doing. So again, it's about really discovering the truth in our practices and actually whether they work or not.
That is so key. So, you know, meditation's been around for thousands of years, and it's extremely useful in just from the very basic anti-anxiety angle, and to, you know, give yourself a chance to come in from the whole busyness. But it's evolving. Meditation practice is evolving, just what you were saying, because it takes you to a place, potentially it takes you into that portal for 5-dimensional reality revolution, which is the name of the training that we're going to be getting up to, and which you're already, you know, rocking out in Japan.
Yes.
What's it been like? I mean, how have people been responding to this, Tracey?
You know, I think people are just so genuinely at a crossroads in terms of what they're dealing with personally. And then it's game on. The pressure is on currently because the 3D is hanging in there. And it's creating, it's creating the obstacles, it's creating the drama, it's creating the distraction. And that hits us hard in terms of our life force and our energy. So it springs up, again, the opportunity of, you know, whether we stay in 3D or whether we make that break and hit the 5D, which is about really encompassing something that is intrinsically aligned with that which is divine. So we're in a bigger time space. We're in a bigger intelligence. We're in bigger heart. We're in bigger mind. And I think we got to get out of this duality and this small-mindedness and this egocentric spirituality that is all very well in terms of the data, but it doesn't take us into the heart of life and living and being the change. And so what I'm coming across so much is, got to look at the programming, got to smash up the programming. That is the big energy killer. It's the big life force killer. Then we got to get into real deal technologies that actually center on true transformation, authentic transformation, really building in core inner peace and space and time for oneself. So we're able to bend time and really work effectively with the healing agendas that are surfacing constantly, because we are in that 5D, 3D crossroads, and it's tearing up our energy field, and we need to stand super, super strong. So there can't be any excuses anymore, and we need to stand in the chaos and go, I can hold my inner space, and I can radiate my light. And just in that alignment, then you are enough to be that positive change maker. You know, so that's what I'm interested in, how we center into authentic pathways for transformation and awakening. How cool is destiny and purpose? So it's the intrinsic formula that releases the 5D if you only stop and listen to your God-given destiny and purpose. You know, and this is huge within the context of revolutionizing what healing is and what health is, because we become enslaved in our programming, which is exactly why we step into transformational journeys itself. And so health becomes a matter of our 3D reality enslavement. Now, we get into the 5D, and the 5D goes, your physical health reflects how you're rocking it within the context of your purpose and your destiny. And that's going to really wire or rewire your systems, your energy systems. So your physical body is actually supporting so much more the 5D, and it's upgrading who you are as a human being, and your health reflects that. So we are no longer a victim of coping strategies. You're getting into the top-notch, real deal, advanced consciousness work that is mirrored and reflected entirely in your physicality and into the world and your life itself.
So is the oscillation between 5D and 3D what is causing so much trouble with our physical bodies at the moment?
Oh, I'm loving it, because it's like the ride that we need to take, you know, and it's throwing everything up.
Literally sometimes.
Yes. And it's about us really recognizing we have to trust the ride. We have to trust the roller coaster.
Yeah, we have to surf it.
Yeah,
surf it from that place of being centered.
Yes.
Say, not trying to like everything's got to be perfect, then I'll be able to meditate. Saying no, we do it on the job. You know, we have to.
It's on the job, and I think also it's about really stepping into our power and being. Yes, incredibly aligned and incredibly strong, but as you say, it's about having that flexibility, because then that shows you the way. It takes you through the right corridors. That's going to redefine you in success and freedom. And I think what we need to expect during these times is new frontier. So we don't do things in that 3D duality based way. And it's not then about strategy. It's much more about the education within, and actually finally waking up, because then we are the grail. And so we're really getting into the very advanced spirituality. We're getting into the very advanced consciousness work. We're getting into the good stuff that begins to unlock the genius and the human potential that can then say, big mind, big heart, I have the solutions for this world that is driving me mad.
Yes. Whoa, Tracey Ash is with me here on She Time yet again. We're rocking it here.
And, you know, and I think
cool.
It's like the way I'm playing around with the technologies and showing people the difference between, you know, 3D and 5D, how it accelerates and it bends time and it produces manifestations and it produces miracles and it produces your own miracles of transformation and synchronicities and all of those things. So you're basically clearing the way, clearing the future for yourself.
Or the clearing is one of the key things we can do. When in doubt, clear it out. Really, because there's so much dross in the way of our truth and our light. There's so many layers. Feels to me that the main job we're doing is cleaning.
I think it should be like super cleaning every day.
Squeaky cleaning.
And you know what? We shouldn't be arrogant in that self-work. We should be like super humble in it and completely passionate about it. Because sometimes, you know, clients rock up and they think they know everything. And of course, once we hit that space, it's destined for failure, you know, because our ego locks us out of the practices, and then life shows up and says, hey, you got to do some work on yourself. Yeah. So the key is to have, I believe, very, very simple meds, very simple structures that give you a safety zone in which you can recharge, reboot, you know, do your own transformation work in a very simple and yet very agenda specific way, you know, so we're really utilizing our awareness to target exactly what needs to be transformed. And we're dropping the fear, and we're dropping the drama, and we're dropping all the approaches that lock us out of truly refined healing. And so I take people into, and although I do a lot of 5D work and my background is ancient mysteries and I'm super fascinated in alchemy and ancient technologies, the ancients kept it real because they lived it. And that's what we have to do. So we stop hiding behind some superficial extravaganza and we start getting into the real deal spirituality, which is about observing self and really being able to take responsibility for oneself within the context of the whole landscape of life. Because life is showing us constantly as a live stream who we are. And yet, sometimes we believe we only know who we are when we close our eyes in a stupid meditation. And so the truth and the reality feed is right here. Yes. And what we must do is, in order for us to create a much more rich and deeper and more sustainable and dynamic and vibrant and brilliant life feed, we must get into that connection, and we must power up a connection, and we must power up our alignments. And I promise that we would see so much good in life. Yeah. Because then we're changing the narrow band of the 3D, and it's like channel hopping. So you really start to see that life is full of incredible, monumental spiritual meaning. And it takes us into incredibly rich and vibrant friendships and relationships, and it takes us into the real deal stuff where we're recognizing our inheritance as human beings, because it is about finding our way back to love,
which is our home. And as you said, talking about bringing it back into the simple practice, this is not rocket science. It's true inner science. It's being with your true self. And this call to self-care, you know, apparently this, one of the top 5 questions that's searched for in Google at the moment is about self-care. People are really curious about how they do this. And they're on it because this is the key to being able to do anything else. Because when you peel back the layers of anxiety, stress, tension, worries, expectation, all that shiz that goes on, the external, you're coming back to your truth, to that internal barometer, to that inner diamond that is you. And that is the key to be able to blast off into other dimensional zones and evolve your spirituality. So, you know, you and I have been talking about bringing the embodiment of spiritual working, because we are still physical beings, and the body can really help us with this. And it's not just the physical body, it's the energetic body as well, you know, the meridian lines and everything. And how incorporating movements with meditations just enables the whole system to get it. And so, yeah, obviously it's going to be Qigong, isn't it? Yes.
Yes.
Yes. But then some yoga as well, and some spontaneous movement and dance too, so that your body is allowed to express itself. It's not just stuck in a meditation position feeling uncomfortable. You're exploring how you can use your whole being, all levels of your being. But it's like the signpost into that very nugget of truth and light right at your center. And this is what I'm excited about doing, is as you say, bring the technologies in, the techniques for people to play with, to experience, not just read about, but have a go at this, see how this feels for you, and then drop into that meditation space. And you lead us through some fantastic meditation link ups through your corridors of connection through the different places on our planet at the moment, and also off planet. Yes, go then. It's incredible time.
You know, I think the body is incredibly important, and I was actually just looking at a video that I took in the Great Pyramids, and I was directing my clients to bounce around in the King's Chamber and work with immense alignment. So getting people to really feel what alignment is. Because if we don't have an experience or a true understanding of that, then we don't know the difference when we move out of our bodies and when we lose that center of power. I think what is also really, really interesting is when we truly align, then we're really being held, not only within the context of our bodies. So we are the temple. We're then also being held in the Earth's gravitational field, which then triggers this 0 point. So we've got the resource to expand and grow our minds and our hearts, which actually is constantly rebooting the field, which is exactly what the 3D programming attacks and corrupts. So you're rewiring yourself constantly based in that anchoring, which equally at the same time takes you into the now, which is something really important, because when we're in the now, we have that impeccable management, consciousness management, and equally energy management that says, hey, I'm completely alive. And then you're waking that moment of time and you're training yourself to live more and more and more in the now. Yeah. So you're not depending on this superficial 3D meditation, duality-driven meditation, which is really geared up in something that's highly intellectual and much more conceptual. You're getting into the live room.
Yeah.
Where it is
happening.
Dimensional. Yeah. And then, you know, you're into something else, because then you're acknowledging yourself as a being of light and a being that is so much more than the 3D. And this is super important, because if we're gonna operate as incredible cosmic corridors, which is also on the request at this moment in time to really help to anchor in some power changes for humanity, we need, you know, positive change influencers who are anchoring in the new frequencies and holding the stability of humanity as we move through into the next frontier. And what we need to be able to do is to acknowledge who we are, then the interdimensional can come in and come forward, because what we've got to remember is we have free will on this planet, and there won't be intervention until we have our own acknowledgement. And then that's also bound in our awareness. So we're not doing that NAF style channeling work that speaks of multidimensional assistance, yet does not deliver it. Yes?
Yes. Woo. Rolling the sleeves up here with Tracey Ash.
So,
telling it
like
it
it's
is.
like the game is on, and you know, I'm feeling it as I'm communicating this message.
Yes.
Because
They
it
want to
really
help.
is about, yes, it's about becoming as generous as we possibly can be within the context of who we are, and equally within the context of service for humanity, so that we can grow a bigger world by being generous in our light and in our spirits.
And we get that from aligning like this. We become, a lot of people talk about protection, about how difficult it is out there. And it's like, oh, stop closing yourself down, because when you're in this alignment, nothing can touch you. You know, it's like you're not. Yeah, go Tracey on that.
What can I say? It's so licentious, and it's so bound in fear, and it's so bound in not taking responsibility. You know, and I think
as well,
there's a great journey if we can stop working in fear, because what does it do? It just frees us as in very, very limited transformation. And I think, you know, today I was working with a client in Japan, and he had been taught with especially naughty, fear-based approaches. And that guy was so frozen that his whole approach was so driven by fear. He was absolutely manifesting his greatest fears. And I said to him, you need to really look to this as an initiation. You're very lucky that you've met a facilitator and a teacher and a healer who doesn't do drama, who won't do fear, and who can stand aligned and just say what it is. And the profound healing in that acknowledgement was huge for him. And I said, even in a session, in terms of a reading, the healing was already activated. He needed someone to say, let's do it another way.
Yes.
Yeah, and it is about that. It's about no frills, no fuss. It's savvy, it's direct, it's, you know, agenda focused. Because I'm a highly trained channel and sensitive, intuitive, you know, and even within the context of that field, there are very dubious training methods. And what we need is profoundly immaculate training that shows us how to work in a hugely authentic way, so that we've done the work on ourselves, which earns us the right to actually work with others and to assist others and facilitate others in terms of a very helpful journey that's pro-evolution. You know, and it's hugely important that we do that inner work, and we are truly committed to really smashing up the 3D programming, which is locked in a frequency that actually, when you interact with clients and when you teach, it actually contaminates the client, because you haven't earned the right. You're utilizing the client to heal your own incompletion. You know, this is a massive subject.
It is a massive subject.
You know, because I'm training people all over the world. I have huge seminars, like they hit 100 in Japan, and I'm like going, you know, it's not about having a wall of certificates. It's about having immaculate inbuilt self-awareness and commitment to your own transformation, which takes you into that right to be it, which is light.
And then that spreads as you move through. You become the change. You know, the Gandhi quote: "You become the change you want to see in the world." And we so need this now, because currently fear is manifesting in a crazy freaking way. And the antidote is within us all. And this call to self-trust. You don't have to keep checking someone else. Am I doing this right? You have to find it within yourself.
Yes.
To no one else can tell you. It's your experience. And so these practices that we do, that we share with others as well, become your place to go to when things are getting really crazy out there. You know where to go in yourself, to resource, to align, to check in. And that's what this 5D reality revolution training is all about. Is leading into that, and then from there where we go. But let's look at actually getting in there. And as you say, this is a massive subject, and I was thinking it might be quite nice to play a tune. So I'm going to just pull us into the fact that Tracey's just been over in Japan. She hops over there quite a lot, to say, because she's got her mystery schools over there, and part of, don't know what else you do. Lots of cool stuff.
Training, and I do psychic school. I do life vision school. I offer like a multi-platform for people to discover themselves.
Yeah, and while you were out there just recently, because you're just back, you went over to the David Bowie exhibition. Now, obviously fans, and I went to this at the V&A a couple of years ago now, before he died, and then, of course, we're on a year anniversary of his passing, and that huge awareness that occurred. There was such a massive ripple when he died, wasn't there? It was just like astonishing, like nobody else so far, as if he's just he's the great starman in the sky, as I like to refer to him as now. But Japanese culture is very fond of David Bowie in a particular way, aren't they?
I think he completely represents a totally, on one level, the genius, which Japanese culture completely gets and respects and honors. And then he was also a very genuine spiritual seeker. And so his path took him to Nara, his path took him to very ancient Japan. And I love Japan because the legends speak of our extraterrestrial origins. Japan is super interdimensional and holds itself in incredible high regard as regards to its celestial origins. So my goodness, he must have felt so at home.
Yeah.
But I think, as a forerunner and as a legend, in terms of, I suppose, through every generation, there's something really interesting about what Japan does for people. It makes you come home, even though you might be the most unusual and unique being in the world. And Japan's quite interesting because it supports people who are trailblazers. And I think that's quite interesting because he did find his home there, and it generated some of his finest work.
Yes. Which track should we play then, Tracey, with that in mind?
Life on Mars.
That is stunning, isn't it?
Let's
do that. Let's play a bit of Life on Mars and then come back with Tracey Ash after that.